Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to today's meeting of the Senate Committee on Legislative Operations and Elections. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Daley, Senator Canizaro, Senator Krasner, Senator Steinbeck, Chair Orenshaw.
Present, we do have a quorum. Madam Secretary, please mark Senator Daley and Majority Leader Canizaro present when they arrive. A few general housekeeping reminders. I'd ask everyone to silence their electronic devices. If you do wish to testify today, please sign in at the table by the door. Provide a business card, if you have one, to the committee secretary. For those joining us online, please be sure to mute your microphone while you're not speaking to minimize any background noise. While you are testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and affiliation with any groups, if you have any, for the record. Then turn the microphone off each time you're done speaking. If you're handing out paper copies of handouts for members of the public, we do ask for 20 paper copies. Electronic copies should have been submitted in PDF form to our committee manager 24 hours in advance of the hearing. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we don't agree with someone else's position. Committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts and other documents. Please do not view this as a sign of disrespect or inattention. As a reminder, we may take agenda items out of order. Public comment will be taken at the end of the meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes per speaker. With that, I would just to give a little lay of the land, we are going to start with our hearing on Assembly Joint Resolution 1. We're very fortunate to have Assemblymember Anderson here with us. We have some time constraints with the deadlines coming up, so we are going to hear your bill, and we may have to take a little break and go into a work session at some point, and we'll try to come back, but if we run out of time, we might have to come back tomorrow to finish the hearing. But we're trying to accommodate some other committees that are also trying to meet. So just to try to be fair to everyone, I'd like to open the hearing on Assembly Joint Resolution 1. I want to welcome Assemblymember Anderson. I see Dylan Shaver here. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to allot 15 minutes for your presentation, and then 20 minutes for support, for opposition, 20 minutes for neutral, 20 minutes for opposition, so everybody gets a chance to speak. If you don't get time to speak today or testify, please, you can submit comments, written comments, through email, through fax, through U.S. mail. They will be made part of the record if you want to submit any comments on Assembly Joint Resolution 1. With that, welcome. Thank you for presenting AJR 1 today.
Thank you, and happy deadline week to those who celebrate it, or mourn it, whichever one it might be. Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw, Vice Chair Daley, and members of the Senate Leg Ops Committee. My name is Natha Anderson. It is my honor to represent Assembly District 30, which is Sparks, but I actually, a little bit of Reno as well, but I refer to it as the heart of the Truckee Meadows. I am joined today by Dylan Shaver of Opinion Public Affairs and our property tax, let's see. I'm bringing forward this because let's just be realistic. Our property tax structure is broken. We have to change it. We have had this discussion many times. There have been many people that have brought it forward, and every single time that we kick it down the road, it creates 2 more years where we have a broken property tax structure. We need to do something. AJR 1 is attempting to try this discussion. Our property tax calculations need to be done in a different way. AJR 1 is bringing forward something for the voters to make the decision. Let me make sure that is clear. This is something that if we're able to get it through this session and next session, that means that as legislators, we trust the voters to make the ultimate decision, to take a look at our property tax structure and say, we need to make changes. And the reason why it has to go to the voters is, number one, we trust the voters. They put us in these positions. But number two, it is a constitutional change. And as we all know, whenever it's a constitutional change, that takes 2 times in the legislature and 1 time to the voters, or 2 times to the voters and 1 time to the legislature, because it should not be taken lightly. It should take many years and many discussions. And this is how we can do so. AJR 1 is based actually on a bill that was originally brought forward from Senator Julia Ratty, who also represents the wonderful area of Sparks that I'm from. It is attempting to address the structural deficit that is faced by our cities, our county, and our state government, our school districts, many of our hospital areas, anything, our libraries, anything that receives property taxes is being impacted by this structural deficit. It's easy to do finger pointing, and I think we've all done that enough. It's easy to do a blame game. This is not the time to do it. Today is the day that we can make a change. The reality is, due to our calculations as a state, we create a hole in the bucket for all of these entities. Until we fix this, it will continue. The calculations of property taxes are complex, they are cumbersome, they're not efficient, and they are not meeting the needs of our neighbors, of our families, of our constituents, and of our state. Nevada is the only state in the nation that applies depreciation, which is defined in NRS 361.227. With our property taxes, we are the only one that utilizes this practice. The Constitution actually declares we must have a uniform and equal system of taxation. AJR 1 is trying to address this issue by again asking the voters to amend the Constitution to reset the depreciation clock of the fiscal structures when property is sold to a new owner. It's very complex. I am not going to act like I understand it 100%, but I do know that the person I am handing it to does. So I'd like to hand it over to Dylan Shaver, who will walk you through the very specifics, as well as some very clear examples of how this unfair practice is impacting us.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember. Good afternoon, Mr. Shaver. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Dylan Shaver, S-H-A-V-E-R, here on behalf of Pinion Public Affairs. We have a number of clients that would benefit from this, but I am here in this capacity today, having appeared before this body for many, many years on behalf of the mining industry to talk about taxes and one very specific property tax in particular there. And then, of course, in my time on the executive team at the City of Reno on the other side of that tax challenge. We're going to, the Assemblymember covered what the bill does. I will do my best to be succinct in describing how we assess property taxes in the state and the effects of that manner of assessment have on our state's ability to provide services. And if you will indulge me, we'll start very simple. Here in Nevada, as the Assemblymember said, we depreciate the value of a structure 1.5% for 50 years. So they loses a 1.5 of its value every year. After 50 years, we assess it at 75% of its value. So I've just for simplicity's sake, we have here everything else being equal, a $100,000 home with no depreciation. The structure is assessed at 35% for the structure and the land, the structure being 30,000 of that, will owe $1,274 worth of taxes. When it is 25 years old, no matter what's happened on the inside of that place, renovated, what have you, the taxes do fall to $864.50 after 25 years. And then after 50 years again, no matter what happens on the inside, and you'll see some slides about that here in a moment, it will be fully depreciated, and its tax bill will, of course, be cut down to $455. How that plays out in the real world comes down to what I'm calling a tale of two listings. Did this yesterday. 1450 Rancho Circle is a 6-bed, 6.5-bath home in southern Nevada in Rancho Circle. It is on the market now for $4.75 million, just shy of $5 million. And when you look at the place, you can see why. You can see here, it's like I said, it's 6-bed, 6.5-bath, but scrolling through the listing I saw, it is 2.5 kitchen. The top picture here, you can see the sort of full formal kitchen. They have a separate full kitchen in sort of a family room in the place. And you can see there, that is indeed a full kitchen. There's a dishwasher, there's a sink, there's a stove, there's a full refrigerator. And then at the bottom you can see in what I assume is the guest suite, there is a kitchenette as well. So we're gonna call that 2.5 kitchens in the property at 1450 Rancho Circle. And you can see it is beautiful and immaculate, whether it's your style or not is a matter of taste. But you can see why this would go for $4.5 million. In contrast, we have 2951 Overlook Brook. Again, this was a listing as of yesterday. This is a home that, as many of you know, I grew up in Las Vegas. I lived in Las Vegas. This is a Las Vegas home. You're driving through Summerlin. You're driving through any random community. You go in and, 4-bedroom, 3-bath. The house takes up most of the lot. Pretty standard new construction in Las Vegas. It was built in the year 2022. When you compare these two homes, and this is how I know if y'all look at my slides beforehand. When you compare these two homes, Rancho Circle on the market, like we said, $4.75 million. Its assessed value last year was $102,000 on the books. This home that is selling for, again, nearly $5 million, we are taxing at, I don't even know what it would be, 1/40th that value. By contrast, the standard Las Vegas stucco home on the market for less than 1/10 that price is actually taxed higher than the home in Rancho Circle, to the tune of about $3,000 of its value. This disparity plays out in every community in this state. I mentioned previously I was on the executive team at the City of Reno. The City of Reno has the largest stock of fully depreciated housing of any major city in this state. 89509, the sort of beautiful old Southwest, we call it, all of those homes, the most valuable homes in the city, are entirely depreciated. What ends up happening is a first-time home buyer, a buyer of a new home, is soaked, essentially subsidizing buyers of much grander housing experiences. What we've done with this is we have created the largest tax abatement in state history. And we'll get into some examples of that here in just a second. But that tax abatement, typically, if you are building, for example, a stadium, you're seeing jobs from that. You are seeing the asset itself at the end of its life and the new attractions that come to the state or what have you, or at least that's the theory. When we provide incentives to a big corporation to build a factory up at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, we want to bring jobs. We want to bring that economic activity to the state. Those abatements are a trade-off that you, on behalf of your constituents, can sit and you can make a judgment call on your own. This trade-off is just the abatement. And in exchange, what we have done is given up the services that our local taxes pay for. I think one of you here was a firefighter. We're looking at Senator Krasner, of course. Every time there is a new need for personnel, for a truck, for turnouts, you go to the finance office and you get the same thing. The funds aren't there. This plays out in our schools, it plays out in our cities, it plays out in our police departments, every taxation district in the state. The other challenge this corrects, the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act has been in the news a lot lately. This was an act passed by, really forced through the Congress by Senator Reed, and essentially what it has done is it has subsidized the creation of community space in Southern Nevada pretty significantly. If you go to the Wetlands Park, I picked it because it's one of my favorites down there. It has been eligible for 16 different rounds of SNPL funding to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. Any outdoor improvement you see happening down there is probably at least partially funded by this act. But we know, and in the Assembly, I don't know where it is in the Senate, but the Assembly's adopted a resolution to that fact. I believe your committee has seen a resolution on this very topic. The SNPL lands are running out. That money will dry up. And there is no source of money coming to replace it. We will have to look at existing resources and figure out what to do. I will go back to the Assembly member to talk about the more specific revenue impacts and the report the legislature did on this topic the last time we brought this up.
Thank you, Dylan. And again, for the record, this is Assemblymember Natha Anderson. So in the study that was commissioned, and it's a great little picture of it up here, but this is actually the study itself. It was commissioned by the LCB the same year Senator Rowdy's SJR 14 was introduced. This study digs into different specific areas, and it goes deep into every single area that is possibly funded by property taxes. You can flip to any page, and you can find out, for example, the China Springs Youth Camp, the Humboldt County Indigent Accident Fund, Lander County Landfill. It goes into every single element that is paid for by property taxes. And what would happen if we actually funded, or if we actually computed our property taxes in the way that is being proposed today, which is as opposed to resetting it upon what the seller was actually having it at, we would reset it upon sale. On the slide itself, the statewide effects of the depreciation, the study explains exactly how that was done, but the statewide school operating rate would make a difference of $3.1 billion over the study period of 12 years. That's all of it together. Obviously, since the time of the study, we have changed exactly how we are doing some of those funding formulas, but what has not changed is where the money is coming from. It's very difficult to figure out which areas to highlight due to how thorough the report is. However, just a few examples pulled from those items. We'll go back to fire, but I'm going to stick to the Truckee Meadows area. Truckee Meadows first, they would have $55 million more. From Clark County, the Clark County Family Courts would have $67 million more. Carson City, our Senior Citizen Services, $1.5 million. Nye County Health Clinic would have $495,000 more. The Lyon County Juvenile Center would have $2.3 million more. Genoa Town, the oldest town in Nevada, would see an increase of $213,000. As we move through these, you can see that there's so many more. But I'm going to go back to my lovely little sparks, where we see Last Chance Joe. As pointed out by our Mayor Lawson, who was able to attend our assembly meeting but is not able to be here today, the Constitution of the state of Nevada has the most regressive property tax system in the United States. The current system creates an unfair advantage for investors.
Assemblymember, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're at 15 minutes. If you could close up your comments.
Thank you so much. I would like to close that then. I want to make sure to go through the process of what happens. And as a civics teacher, I love this. We get to first start off with a representative democracy vote. And I try to explain this to my students, that first we are elected to represent the people next to us. So first it's going to go to representative democracy in 2025 by the legislative, representative democracy vote again in 2027. But then we get to use direct democracy. And people like me and others will be able to go straight to the voters to say, this is what we need to do. So I ask for your support, and I also want to just make a quick little reminder. This will not impact anybody's current property taxes. The proposal is to make the changes for the new owners, not for the current individuals. And in closing, I ask that we practice our ability. I actually ask that we celebrate the idea of voting, and we allow this to come to the voters. Thank you for this opportunity. We will do our best to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Shaver. Members, any questions for our presenters? Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation today. I appreciate the visuals as well. I have received numerous emails opposing AJR 1. Individual citizens don't want this. And I'm just wondering if you can address maybe why you think it's necessary, just in a nutshell. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Please go direct.
Oh, thank you. Assemblymember Anderson to Senator Krasner. I believe it's important for 4 reasons. Although I'm a teacher, usually it's just in groups of 3, but this time it's going to be 4. Number 1, our city and county governments cannot continue to pay the bills that are necessary for our firefighters, for our police officers, for our parks, for our services, for our libraries. So that's number 1. The structural deficit that we have created because of how we utilize the depreciation, as was explained by Mr. Shaver, will explain that, shows that. That's number 1. Number 2, we have to do something. We are the only state in the nation that utilizes this fashion. I don't know why we do. When I asked for a little bit more clarification, I was getting all sorts of different answers. We have to move with the times, and we are not. Number 3, and quite frankly, this is me, somebody that really cares a lot about our natural resources, in particular the water, we have no place else to grow. At this time, our cities and counties are having to, almost being forced, to continually approve new developments to be able to fill up the financial holes in the background. Because of this, we have no more land. As many of us know, there are different things happening at the federal government. There are different items coming through other ways. Where are we going to find this land that all of these new items are happening to? We don't have it. We have to change how we budget things. And then finally, as I've stated before, this is a way for us to go to the voters and say, our property tax system is broken. We need to make a change. This is where we really see that direct democracy come to, because I've received those same emails. The interesting thing is once I do a discussion with the individuals, 9 times out of 10, I've been able to change somebody's mind because I show them this information. I show them not the picture from Vegas or from Clark County that just floored me, but instead I show them a mansion here in Carson City, 2 blocks up, being sold for $2 million. A tract home, 2 miles up, being sold for $400,000. $400,000 is paying more. That's why this matters.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you also for your presentation and the discussions that we had previously on it. My biggest concern, we do need to address our tax base all the way across, right? I mean, we have to change with times, and I do understand that. My biggest concern with this is that pricing new homeowners out of the market. That is my number one concern. They're already struggling to get into the market, and they're already stressed once they get into the market, many to the point that they can't afford the homes because they stretched it out so far just to make the mortgages now, and that's my number one concern.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Senator Steinbeck, that is a valid concern. My name is, who are you? My name is Dylan Shaver with Pinion Public Affairs again. That's a valid concern. What you are at your core expressing is that your concern is about price, right? You said yourself, new owners will be priced out of the market, right? So I'd love to examine that for just a moment, because a home, like any purchase, is a multi-factor decision, right? The price at the end of the day comes down to is this amount I'm paying as a willing buyer worth what I am getting? So one of 2 things will happen here. Somebody will buy a new home, and let's put this in the segment of first-time home buyers. And when you buy a home, the whole deal is disclosed there in front of you. In fact, nowadays on one sheet of paper. And there is a line for taxes. You know that going in. If it puts downward pressure on people's ability to buy, the market will respond in one of 2 ways. It could respond where there are no other changes to the marketplace, in which case that means we are capturing the full value, and the concern that you and I share on this was not actually realized. The other way the market responds when prices go up is demand decreases for things at that price. And ultimately what will happen is the market will adjust to this change. So while it is a concern and a valid concern, we don't really think that the evidence bears out that this will affect folks' ability to acquire homes in the long run. In the short run, it's a massive calculation you're undertaking when you're buying a home, especially for the first time, especially if you're going through some of, like, you know, the 3% financing that you can do through the FHA, and you're saving up for your down payment, all that. That's valuable. But this gets wrapped into the whole deal. And just like when you buy a car or anything else, you can make a decision. And if the decision discourages so many people out of the marketplace, as would be our concern, prices will respond in kind.
Please go ahead for a follow-up.
Yeah, my concern would be that the demand will still be met, but it'll be made more by institutional investors, right, than homeowners, and that's one of my biggest concerns with that.
Assemblymember Anderson, for the record, thank you for bringing up unfortunately, the people that are doing that right now. I mean, we just had that headline, what was it, 3 weeks ago, showing that the largest investor or the largest homeowner is actually somebody that's not sending their kids to our school. It's actually not people that are sending, that are actually there. They're renting them out. I can't remember now what group that was, and that's in Clark County. But the reality is, right now, the way that we're setting this up, that's helping those investors more than it's helping the brand new. Because the longer they have it, they're not going to turn around to sell it. That's actually, the way that we currently have it is helping, it's helping the rich. It's not helping the individuals who are trying to figure out how to pay their bills. And you can see that with this property tax, number one. Number two, I got to be realistic sometimes when you take a look at some of these new homes that are being built. These are McMansions. And I think I've said this before to a few people. I bought my house in 2001. I was very fortunate to be able to be in a position that I could. I would love to be able to not have still a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. I'd like to have just a smaller house. You can't find those anywhere because all of the new buildings are huge. They're McMansions. We need to start thinking about also how are we looking at the codes, and that's at the city and county areas. How are we getting these smaller areas or smaller houses being built? People are not investing in it because of how expensive the land is. It's one of these, I guess, if you give a mouse a cookie, I guess this is, if you give the state a property tax issue, it just keeps on going. There's one more problem that just keeps on coming up. But that's also the issue, is that the way we've set up our tax structure, it is helping the people with a large amount of money. It is not helping the people without. When I see people that are buying a house that was built in the 1920s and their tax bill for a whole year is something like $600, there's something wrong with that. And this is trying to address that issue.
Go ahead, Senator Steinbeck.
Thank you. Can you also address how this would affect the commercial and business community?
Through the chair, through Senator Steinbeck, and I keep on forgetting just to go straight. Thank you for asking that. My feeling is this should be residential. But this is one reason why this does take a process that we have. This question is very specific that will be on the Constitution. But what will actually happen with the legislative language, that's something that we could then do after it goes from the voters. So in this way, we can have those discussions. In my opinion, this should be residential. That is where I am.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, just add a little bit of color to that. In 2005, the legislature sort of put us on a funny split roll abatement system where the appreciation in residential property tax can increase by only 3% per year, which is a separate abatement from the one we're talking about today. And commercial can grow by about 8% a year. And that was not found to violate uniform and equal, sort of opening the door for the legislature's ability to kind of create different rules based on the marketplace they're trying to serve.
Very much. Members, any additional questions? All right, well, I really appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much. With that, I'd like to open it up to support for AJR 1. I'll start here in Carson City, then we'll go down to Las Vegas, then we'll go to the phone lines, and we'll allow for 20 minutes of support. So whoever would like to come up for support, thank you. And we are limiting 2 minutes per speaker for every speaker. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alexis Motorex with the Nevada Chapter Associated General Contractors. AJR 1 is a thoughtful and necessary proposal to modernize our property tax system that will bring fairness to homeowners and give local governments sustainable and predictable revenue. The current system is artificially suppresses revenue growth through depreciation and caps that don't reflect actual market activity. Without raising tax rates or imposing new burdens, AJR 1 will allow our cities, counties, and school districts to plan their budgets more efficiently, reduce funding gaps, and invest in the services we all rely upon. Local governments are facing budget shortfalls right now, resulting in layoffs and a reduction in services, including fire and police. To help stop the bleeding, some are increasing fees where possible, placing even more burdens on lower-income Nevadans who can least afford rate increases. AJR 1 will give voters the opportunity to consider this fair, balanced, and forward-looking reform so they're not subjected to being nickeled and dimed to death and can depend on the services they expect for their local governments. We urge you to pass AJR 1 and give Nevada voters that chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kelly McNeil, Executive Director of the Nevada League of Cities. AJR 1 seeks to provide local governments with the flexibility necessary to address unique fiscal challenges while ensuring taxpayer protections remain in place. Allowing adjustments to property tax provisions such as these proposed in AJR 1 can help stabilize municipal revenues, ensuring consistent funding is available for vital services such as public safety, education, parks, and critical infrastructure. Revising outdated tax provisions can lead to fairer distribution of tax burdens and benefits, fostering equity among Nevada's residents, while also promoting more effective and efficient governance. The Nevada League of Cities urges the committee to support this resolution, paving the way for more adaptable and predictable fiscal environment across our state. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Michael Hillerby on behalf of the City of Sparks and the Urban Consortium, of which the city is a member. I'd like to thank Assembly Member Anderson and Considine for bringing this important resolution forward. We think it's entirely appropriate that the voters be given an opportunity to weigh in on this question, which is exactly what this does. This does not change the property tax system, but it would allow the voters a voice to decide if they wanted to do that. I think it was important, it was mentioned a little bit about both the depreciation and the property tax cap, and I thought I'd just talk a bit about the City of Sparks, who gave us some numbers. We had among the highest dip in home values during the Great Recession. So what the combined effect of the property tax cap and the depreciation is this. If your property dropped by half, which I live in the City of Sparks, and dropped by a little more than that value, a little more than half, somewhere between 5 and 7 years after 2010, our property value had recovered to its pre-recession value. It takes, because of the combination of the 3% cap and the 1.5% depreciation on the improvements, 24 years for that property tax to catch up with where it was before the property tax. So that's one of the things that local government is dealing with. And that's really important. That was put in 2005 to protect taxpayers from the huge increases in property we were seeing at the time, but no one really saw the Great Recession happening and what that did. And secondly, Senator Steinbeck, I think you asked a very important question, and I think we certainly understand when you're trying to get into a home. I have 3 kids wondering how ours are going to afford homes when you see median income and median home price so far apart. I was just doing some quick calculations on our home, which is in Sparks, and we've enjoyed some of the property tax depreciation. If that reset, it would change on a sort of typical mortgage, that payment from about $3,500 a month to $3,700. I may be off a little bit, was trying to do some quick math. That's not inconsequential, and it's certainly something my wife and I, we bought our first home, would have thought about. But it's really the value of the home that's the serious issue right now. And there's a lot of other things going on in this building and other to deal with that. But I just thought it was important to maybe put those two things in perspective, again, on behalf of the City of Sparks. We thank the sponsor of taking enough of your time. And again, we hope you will see fit to put this, start the process of putting this question in front of the voters.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw, members of the committee. My name is Alex Noriega, representing the Nevada State AFL-CIO, standing in full support of this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Ryan Beeman, representing the professional firefighters in Nevada. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of AJR 1. I'm honored here to testify in support of Assembly Joint Resolution 1, a measure that seeks to amend the Nevada Constitution to revise provisions related to property taxation. As a firefighter, I understand firsthand the importance of a stable and equitable funding for the public service, including emergency response and fire protection. AJR 1 ensures that Nevada's property tax systems remains fair and sustainable by adjusting how real property is assessed following a sale or a transfer. This resolution strengthens the financial foundation of local governments, which directly impacts the resources available for fire departments, emergency services, and disaster response. By supporting AJR 1, firefighters stand in solidarity with the communities that we serve, advocating for responsible fiscal policies that safeguard the public safety. I'd urge the committee to advance this resolution to ensure that Nevada's emergency services remain strong. Thank you.
I'd like to go next.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Brian Wallace, a teacher here in Carson City and Vice President of the Nevada State Education Association, who has been the voice of Nevada educators for 125 years. We support AJR 1 to allow the people of Nevada to amend the Nevada Constitution to reset the property tax depreciation at the point of sale. In 2019, recognizing the overwhelming needs in our Nevada schools, this legislature created the Commission on School Funding, tasking it with recommending a plan to reach optimal education funding over the course of 10 years. The Commission on School Funding has diligently worked on this task, and they have presented a clear, research-backed plan to close the multi-million-dollar gap between what Nevada spends on education now and where our students need to be within the next 10 years. By passing AJR 1, it is the best chance to truly honor the work of the Commission on School Funding and take a concrete step toward passing their plan. Not doing so means Nevada students, families, and educators will remain stuck in a chronically underfunded set of schools and our communities for the foreseeable future. Please support AJR 1 and allow the people in Nevada the opportunity to make this decision. Please pass the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Tom Clark. I'm here on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, and I won't belabor a lot of what has already been said. We are definitely in support of AJR 1. We are absolutely in support of resetting the property tax to a place of reality. A lot of people, and to you, through Mr. Chairman, to Senator Krasner, we are getting a lot of questions. Why are you possibly supporting this? Well, let's have the conversation in the public. Since I've been in this building in 1991, we've had this debate within the halls of this facility. Not once has this issue been given to the voters to let them decide, to let people educate them about what this really means, that it's not a tax increase on you as your property owner as it sits right now. But if you sell your home and you buy a new one, your property tax should go up. It's probably going to be a bigger house. Interest rates might be different. So yeah, there might be an effect to you at that point. But for myself, I'm in my life home. This isn't going to affect me at all. You know what it is going to affect? It's going to affect the local governments that provide the services for me in my communities if this passes. Because now local governments are going to be receiving revenue based on the real market value of those properties. And the benefit to everybody in the community is that those local governments aren't going to be looking at us in other areas to increase fees and taxes to fill their coffers, because they will have been made whole based on this particular resolution. It gets a little emotional when we go every single session and we have these debates about these kinds of solutions. And yet we haven't pushed it to a point where the voters can make the choice for us. Representative government is important. Assemblymember Anderson laid that out. We need to do these debates this session and next session, but it's time that we take these types of questions out to the voters, give us an opportunity to answer those questions so that they truly understand what this is. And it's not a tax increase unless you take advantage of the beautiful areas that we have and you buy a house here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very much for your testimony. Down in Las Vegas for support, I don't see anyone coming forward. Broadcasting on the phone lines, do we have anyone who wishes to speak in support?
If you'd like to testify in support of AJR 1, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Chair, we have no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Okay, thank you very much, broadcasting. With that, I'd like to go to opposition. I'll start here in Carson City, then I'll go down to Las Vegas, then the phone lines. And whoever would like to come forward, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Lynn Chapman, and I'm the state treasurer for the Independent American Party. Here we go again. I always ask this, how much is enough? It'll never be enough. Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy wrote in an article in March 2025, quote, "Home ownership is still out of reach for many buyers, and an increasing number of homeowners are severely cost burdened, spending more than half of their income on housing and utilities. The situation is just as challenging, if not more so, for renters. As workers face more and more economic uncertainty, layoff anxiety, and concerns about food costs, higher housing costs can feel like the final straw. Between 2019 and 2024, property taxes nationwide have increased 30%," unquote. Impacts of high property taxes on families. The higher taxes lead to higher monthly housing costs, which leads to less disposable income. Failure to pay property taxes can end up with legal problems, including foreclosure. Family may lose their investment and financial security. Home buyers may not invest in a home because of higher property taxes, which in turn makes it harder for homeowners to sell their property. Higher property taxes make it more likely that homeowners will have less money for other essentials such as savings, education, and health care. Let's not forget the seniors. Higher property taxes put a lot of seniors in a bind. They do without essentials so that they can stay in their homes they spent their lifetime in raising families and thinking they will have some security in their older years. This is not a good fit for families or seniors who want to keep their family homes. Vote no on AJR 1. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. It's good to be back with you again. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state president of Nevada Families for Freedom. Government is insatiable. They will never have enough money. According to the Institute for Policy Innovation in the United States, the total U.S. tax burden, including federal, state, and local taxes and hidden taxes, is equal to 56% of annual personal consumption spending. That's 56% is more than a person spends on housing, food, healthcare, transportation, education, and recreation. How can people possibly take care of themselves, take care of ourselves and our families when government takes 56% of our income? My brother had a business and talked about what hidden taxes were. For instance, he sold roofs. So if the roof cost $10,000, he would show them how $5,000 of that was in permits and extra fees that he had to pay. Many taxes we pay are in hidden taxes. The problem is there'll never be enough money for government. No matter how much they have, they'll always spend that and want more. People can't afford it. People don't want to spend more on money. We see here every day more bills to spend more money on more socialist programs. We want government spending less money and giving us more money to take care of ourselves. We don't want to depend on government. 1/5 of Nevadans are on Medicaid. We think that's a travesty. We want people to have the money to take care of their own families so they can be free and independent individuals, not dependent on government for their existence. Vote no on AJR 1.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next.
Good afternoon. Hopefully you can hear me. Members of the committee, Cyrus Ojjati, Hojjaty. We'd like to thank the sponsor and appreciate for bringing this important bill. We appreciate her work. We agree the tax system is unfair. She makes a lot of good points. A lot of wealthy people are not paying the taxes that they should. It's a very regressive system, and we believe that this applies to future home buyers. However, Nevada's attractive climate, which would make me move here, is the low taxes. I didn't pay any capital gains taxes on selling my stocks as I would have if I would have stayed in California. However, we are concerned about the long-term trend. It never ends. Commerce tax, marijuana tax, mining tax, raised sales tax, on and on. I hear reports money gets wasted, and what are the results? And yes, it is regressive. And yes, of course, there are ways we can reform it, but we believe in other alternatives. First, I think we can raise the gaming tax. It is the lowest in this country, and this shows our system is very regressive. We can change our property tax system to a land value tax. Many people in my organization, Strong Towns, believe that. It will encourage denser development, like you see in Reno. And yeah, sure, some people, I believe, should pay the tax on their property. Not everybody, because otherwise you don't have true private property rights. Put the taxes on the wealthy people. Put the taxes only on corporation, businesses. But if you have some people who paid off their homes, live in a remote area, senior citizens, or really take care of their homes, they should get tax rebates or pay no taxes at all. There's many different ways we can change it, replacing the need of an HOA. And we're still concerned this could have an impact on low-income people because those wealthy homes have little casitas and increasing tax could affect their rent. So maybe we can make some changes to that. Now, there are some upsides. I think that if taxes do go up for new homes, it will bring downward pressure on real estate. You can kind of look at Illinois. So hopefully we will work with the sponsor. And yes, I agree that, yeah, they need to build more starter homes. I totally agree. I mean, I'm sick of these McMansions. They're just hideous. Unlike these old historic mansions, we could at least do that. Do I have some time left?
I believe we're probably about 30 seconds. I don't think I hit. Please go ahead and wrap up your comments.
Yeah, I forgot, but a lot of good points were made. I'm just concerned about the long-term trend, and I guess, yeah, this bill wasn't as flawed as I thought, but I just don't agree exactly with the approach. We appreciate the sponsor. My bad.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and committee members. My name is Joshua Skaggs, and I'm the Legislative Affairs Director for the Nevada Republican Party, here today in opposition to AJR 1. Our platform states that we support lower taxes and fees and a reduction in the scope of government at all levels, and we support a simple, fair tax code. AJR 1 fails on both counts. Although it has been stated that AJR 1 is not a tax increase, it's clear that more tax will be collected and Nevada families will pay more property tax as a result of this bill. That is only logical given that the basis for the tax is being increased. Support testimony from various government agencies and recipients of government funding further reinforced this view, as supporters indicated that the bill was needed in order to increase state spending on a wide variety of programs and non-governmental organizations. However, as taxpayers, we do not agree that Nevada has a revenue problem. We have a spending problem. Regardless of anyone's favorite program, enshrining tax increases in the Nevada Constitution is not appropriate. It requires many years to make a constitutional change, and mandates tie the hands of future legislatures to respond to current needs. In terms of fairness, the Nevada Constitution requires a uniform and equal rate of assessment and taxation of property. AJR 1 violates the principle of equal taxation by penalizing Nevadans, such as young families trying to buy a home. Even if they buy an older home, it is taxed as though it were a brand-new home, placing home buyers on an unequal footing with those who have been in their homes for many years. We oppose enshrining tax increases in the Constitution, and we oppose unfair taxation, and we urge you to reject AJR 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Skaggs. I actually have a question from Vice Chair Daley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. And I'm sure you've probably seen the plaque up there that it's against the law to intentionally give misleading testimony in front of this committee. So you said that taxes will increase by the passage of this measure. Is that true? That is untrue, I believe. It has to go to a vote of the people. Passage of this measure will not increase any tax. So did you misstate, or did I mishear you?
Misheard me.
No, I think you could give me your written testimony, and you said the passage of this bill will cause a tax increase. You want me to have them read back the record?
I can read it again.
Passage of this
Chair?
bill will cause a tax increase. That's what it said.
Yeah.
And it will not. Do you understand that it has to go to the vote of the people? The passage of this measure will not cause a tax increase. The people have to vote. So let me ask a different question. Never mind. We've established that you gave inaccurate testimony.
No, I
So is the Republican Party opposed to letting the voters, the will of the people stand? Not even going to go there? The Republican Party is afraid to put this in front of the voters?
I will, get back to you on that.
You can't answer a simple question like that?
Let me get back to you, please.
I hear all the time from people that come up and there's the will of the people and the voters and the will of the people, and you won't let the people have their say.
If it went to a vote, I'm sure it would be struck down by the will of the people.
We'll see, right? But are you afraid to even have the question go to the people?
No.
No, good. Good answer. First thing you said truthful, I think, all day. Thank you.
Wow.
Members, any additional questions? Not seeing any. Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Joy Truszynski. I'm a non-paid lobbyist for conservative causes. The main point of why I oppose AJR1 is that it eliminates the property tax cap. This will increase property taxes. This is unfair to new home buyers and parents who leave their property to their children. It will especially hurt young families trying to buy their first homes. AJR1 is socialistic, in my opinion, and coincides with the World Economic Forum plan for the masses, which is you will own no property and be happy. This constitutional amendment favors the wealthy, not the working middle class. When there is no property tax cap, the taxes could be assessed out of their reach, out of the reach of the working class. Assessors are not balanced in their assessment of properties. My home was built in 1983, and it's a modest home, and I pay $2,000 a year in property taxes. Yet there are bigger properties, newer properties, and they pay less taxes than what I do. I don't think that's fair, and if you're going to change anything, change that. Please vote no on AJR1. Thank you very much.
It's your testimony. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Perrine, CYNTHIA PERINE. I oppose AJR1 because upon approval of the voters, it will increase property taxes for Nevadans who are already heavily taxed. This resolution, upon voter approval, will not ease the lack of affordable housing in Nevada. Housing in Nevada, as we all know, is increasingly expensive, and it makes home ownership difficult for first-time homeowners, local home buyers, low-income earners, seniors, who will be stuck with a high property tax bill when they go to buy another property should they need to. So in uncertain economic times, we need consistency and predictability in our property taxes. And we need to retain the property tax cap. So I say, find another way. Please vote no on this resolution and have compassion on Nevada families. Thank you.
Thanks for your testimony. Good afternoon. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Chair Orenshall and committee members. Misty Grimmer, GRIMMER, representing the Nevada Resort Association. I have had many conversations with Assemblywoman Anderson about this measure, and I do appreciate her position, and hopefully it will carry forward that this would apply primarily to residential. The way that it's drafted currently, I believe, and our members believe, it would actually apply to businesses also when the transfer of property happens. And I obviously appreciate that for you guys, the most important thing is how it affects the voters. But the businesses in Nevada are taxpayers as well, and so we do have some concerns. As you might imagine, our members have some of the most valuable property in the state of Nevada, and those transfers and those sales do happen. So I think that in our case, when it does happen, it could create a very, very significant impact on the cost of the transaction. So I hope we can continue to work with the Assemblywoman and maybe get clarity actually in the measure of who exactly it would apply to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? Not seeing any. Thank you. I'd like to go down to Las Vegas for opposition.
Chair Orenshaw and members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Azim Jessa, and I'm with the Nevada Realtors. I'm here to express opposition to AJR1, which would reset property tax depreciation at the point of sale. This policy would significantly burden first-time homebuyers, worsen housing affordability, and create unfair tax disparities amongst similar properties. Nevada is already facing a severe housing affordability crisis. Home prices have skyrocketed in recent years, making it difficult for families, first-time buyers, and even middle-income earners to afford a home. Resetting property tax depreciation at the point of sale would only make matters worse by increasing the long-term cost of homeownership. When a buyer purchases a home, they already face higher costs from rising mortgage rates, insurance, and closing expenses. If the property taxes are also increased due to a depreciation reset, it would add hundreds or even thousands of dollars to their annual expenses, pricing many families out of homeownership entirely. Let's not miss that rents would also increase when we're working hard in this building to lower rents by increasing attainability with increased supply. This policy would especially hurt first-time homebuyers, retirees looking to downsize, and working-class Nevadans struggling to afford a home in an already high-cost market. In a time when we should be working to make housing more accessible, this change would do the opposite. Beyond affordability, a reset at the point of sale would create unfair tax disparities between neighbors in identical homes. Two homeowners in the same neighborhood with homes of the same age and condition could pay drastically different property tax bills simply because one home recently changed hands while the other did not. The unfair system would discourage longtime homeowners from selling, further tightening Nevada's already limited housing supply. It would also penalize those who need to move quickly due to a job change, family needs, or financial circumstances. We understand the needs of our local government and the services they provide for our communities. However, a property tax system should be fair, predictable, equitable, and not create unnecessary burdens on homeowners, especially in a state where housing is already unaffordable for many. Resetting property tax depreciation at the point of sale would increase housing costs, create disparities, and make home ownership even more difficult in Nevada. We strongly urge you to oppose AJR1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see anyone else. There is someone down in Las Vegas opposition testimony. Not sure if you're in opposition, please come forward. But if not, then broadcasting, can we go to the phone lines for opposition to Assembly Joint Resolution 1? We're limiting to 2 minutes per caller.
If you'd like to testify in opposition to AJR1, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, this is Katrin Ivanov, IVANO Frank, and I'm in opposition of this. And I would answer the question that was given earlier. I'm a conservative person, and yes, I am scared for you sending this to the voters, because when you award things, even though it says that in the rules, you have to award them to be clear what the voters are voting on. It's not clear. In some cases, it's not even clear if we say yes, if we are agreeing with what you're asking, or if we say no, if we are agreeing with what you're asking. So yes, I am terrified for this to go to the voters, because it's not fair how you're presenting it to the voters. And also, I'm sorry, you guys keep trying to tax us on things, but yet you're bringing up more and more things that have nothing to do with Nevadans. So Nevadans are going to pay the taxes, and you're going to use the money to make healthcare for illegals? Oh, Nevadans don't have healthcare. The people that are paying taxes have no healthcare. But you worry about the illegals that are not paying taxes? There is a lot of pork that you guys are spending our money on. So if we bring someone to do analysis on what you're spending money, I'm pretty sure we're going to find money to cover the important things that the government should be covering, not health care for illegals. So I don't understand how in the same session, a session 83, you can ask us to pay health care for illegals, not for Nevadans, not for people that pay taxes all their lives, but for people that just jumped in and broke the wall. But you want to increase our taxes on top of that? And this bill is not clear. Yeah, you're proposing to be only for certain people, but then you're going to have discussion and those things are going to change and it's going to affect a lot more people. What if I want to leave my house to my kids? Would they have to pay more taxes when they put the house on their name because now they're going to be the new owner? No, this is not fair. Please stop taxing us to death. Please vote no to this. And yes, I am scared to get it to the voter because last time when you bring the abortion thing to the voter,
Excuse me,
voter thought
ma'am,
that if
I'm
they
sorry to
don't
interrupt
vote
you.
for it,
We are
they're
at
gonna
2
have-
minutes. If you could bring your comments to a close, we do have other callers on the line.
Yes, yes. Very fast. Voters thought that if they don't say yes on the questions that you were asking, abortion would not be legal in Nevada, which is not true because abortion was legal till 6 months. Now they made it to 9 months, and most of the voters that are upset just voted that way. So, and that's Republicans and Democrats. Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. Please vote no.
And I do want to remind all the other callers that if a ditto is fine, just because we're running very short on time. We allotted 20 minutes for support, 20 minutes for opposition, 20 minutes for neutral. So we can take a few more callers and then we'll have to go to neutral. So please try to make your comments brief. A ditto is fine if you want to do that.
Okay. Hello, good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Kimberly Fergus, and I'm here to strongly oppose AJR 1, Amendment 371. This amendment proposes the most reckless and punitive property tax formula Nevada ever seen. Section 11A, eliminating tax caps. This section nullifies the 3% and 8% property tax caps under NRS 361.4722 and 361.4723 and 361.4724 for the first physical year after the property is sold, exposing new buyers to unpredictable tax spikes. That is where it will raise the taxes. Section 11B, resetting depreciation. This amendment resets the depreciation schedule as if all improvements were new, ignoring the existing depreciation formulas under NRS 361.227. A 100,000 renovation gets no tax relief and is fully taxed as new construction. This is economic insanity and a direct hit on property investment. Section 12, stripping senior and disability relief. The amendment removes the proposed property tax refunds for seniors and disabled individuals, disregarding NRS 361.4727 and abandoning our most vulnerable populations. This is a formula for economic disaster, punishing investment and destabilizing property values. I urge you to vote no on AJR 1 to protect Nevada homeowners from the reckless tax scheme. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you for your testimony and broadcasting. We are at our 20 minutes, so I want to let the callers who are on the line know that you can email your written comments. You can fax them in. That number is posted on our agenda. You can mail them in. They will be made part of the record. But in order to be fair to everyone, we've allotted 20 minutes for all three positions, and we are now going to go to neutral. Anyone who's neutral on AJR 1 here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas. I do see someone down in Las Vegas. Thank you for joining us, sir. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Senator Orshaw. My name is Mike Kozar, K-O-S-O-R, for the record. To your comments, I will ditto what I heard on the positive on who were in support. I will also ditto a lot of what was said on the negative side. I'm neutral here because what I haven't heard, and I'd like to point out to the senators, is that we have a mantra here in Las Vegas, where I'm from, where growth is supposed to be paying for growth. So my question is, before we start taxing those of us that already live here, are we actually doing what we say we're going to do? Are the new developments, the new projects actually paying for the growth the cost of what they bring to us. Lots of programs here in Las Vegas, PFNA fees, and I don't believe they are at all keeping up with that. So essentially, the new growth isn't being paid for. And so we're just subsidizing the developers, the new home costs. So we're kind of stuck here. I would suggest before we start asking for new tax avenues, changing our constitution, that we make sure that we have all of the current things available to us maxed out, and this is our only route. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Kozar. Not seeing anyone else down in Las Vegas neutral. No one's come forward in Carson City. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who's neutral on the measure who wishes to be heard?
If you'd like to testify in neutral for AJR 1, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon, Chair Orenshaw and committee members. For the record, Becky Dutro, D-U-T-R-O, with Nevada Taxpayers Association. The association is neutral on this bill. However, we encourage you to consider the guiding principles for its effective tax policy. Taxes should be fair, uniform, and equitable, which is what the language of AJR 1 seeks to achieve by resetting depreciation and property tax abatement upon the sale of real property. Additionally, taxes should be reviewed periodically to ensure that they are supporting the purposes they were intended for. With the property tax measures in place, there is a continued revenue deficiency for local governments with an increase to cost of services provided to taxpayers. This measure is the first step to allow a ballot item to be thoughtfully crafted to allow the voters to determine whether there should be adjustments to the current property tax system. Looking ahead, we urge both current and future legislators to ensure that if AJR 1 is approved by the legislature and voters, any definitions and exemptions related to the sale and transfer of property are clearly outlined. This clarity is essential to prevent confusion about what qualifies as an exemption. Tax policy should be administered through straightforward, easy to understand measures that account for the context of arm's length transactions, thereby safeguarding against unintended consequences of changes to the depreciation or tax cap applications. We thank the bill sponsor for bringing this forward, and thank you to the committee for your time and consideration.
Yes, hello, committee. This is Al Lasso in Las Vegas. First, I want to thank the committee for the important work you do. It's often challenging, frequently thankless, and not without disagreement, but your commitment to public service is deeply appreciated. And I will couch my comments with the understanding that this bill will still have to go to the people to vote. That's understood, and I'm not afraid of people voting, and I believe in democracy. I'm neutral on this bill, but I ask you to consider the following. AJR 1 could create dangerous long-term consequences for Nevada's future, especially in light of climate change and urban development needs. If we eliminate the property tax cap and revalue older homes as if they were brand new upon sale, this law would punish people for moving, even when moving may be necessary for safety, sustainability, or opportunity. And that's a serious problem here as we face rising heat, water scarcity, environmental pressures. AJR 1 could trap people in inefficient, outdated homes.
Mr. Lasso, I apologize for interrupting you. I apologize for interrupting you. Certainly, I think your testimony is an opposition. We're in neutral now. You're welcome to email your written comments, fax, sent via U.S. mail. They'll be made part of the record. We are allotting 20 minutes for all three positions. We're in the neutral position now. So I apologize, but we need to go to the next
one. Well, okay. I'm just asking you to consider all options. That's all.
And happy to. Please submit your written comments. Broadcasting, is there anyone else in the neutral position who wishes to be heard?
Thank you, Chair. There are no other callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to invite our sponsor up to make any closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Orenshaw, Assemblymember Anderson, for the record. I want to thank the committee both for your questions and then also for your patience with this. I know I've had a chance, either myself or others have had a chance to meet with you about this one-to-one. I think there are two things that are really important to remember. Oh, and I'd also like to thank those individuals who have both come to the table in support as well as in disagreement. That's okay. As a matter of fact, sometimes good for us to have those discussions. I think, though, what has been really clear is that there's a large amount of confusion on this bill. There are some people that are thinking, oh, it's automatically going to do this, which is actually, for example, the tax cap. That is a statutory change. The transfers into trust, which was alluded to by another individual who came up here. That's, again, a statutory change. That would not be part of the actual language. That would be part of the statutory changes that might be necessary. I do think the confusion is present. I think we need to remember, though, that the current system, we have a mansion, a multi-million-dollar mansion that is paying less in taxes than a tract home. We need to do something. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present. Look forward to further discussions.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Shaver. Thanks to everyone who testified. Again, if you did not get a chance to testify, please, you can submit written comments via email, fax, regular mail. We will make them part of the record. With that, we're going to close the hearing on Assembly Joint Resolution 1, and members are going to be at ease for just a second. Members, we will come back to order. Committee, we will now begin the work session. Since this is a work session, I will remind everyone, the work session is the time for the committee to act on bills. We will not be taking further testimony or having a second hearing on the bill. However, as chair, I may at times ask one of the interested parties to come forward to answer a question or clarify an issue. At this time, I would like to ask our committee policy analyst, Pepper Sturm, to review the bills we have listed on our consent calendar. And members, that's on page 3 of the binder that you have. I want to ask members if any member wants to remove any of these bills from the consent calendar for further discussion during the work session. I do want to let members know that on our consent calendar, we are pulling off Assembly Bill 148. The sponsor has told me that there is an amendment he's working on with one of the interested parties, and we hope we will be able to work session it at a future meeting, but today we're not going to be work sessioning it due to his working on that amendment. So 148 will not be on the work session. We're going to have Assembly Bill 256, 348, 367, 477, 506, and AJR 13. Members, any concerns on any of these bills? Anyone want them pulled off the work session? I'm not seeing any requests. Do I have a motion to do pass for the bills on the consent calendar? Second. I have a motion from Senator Steinbeck. Is there a second? Second. I have a second. Majority Leader, I think, beat you that time, Vice Chair Daley. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I don't see any opposition. Madam Secretary, please note that Assembly Bill 348, 256, 348, 367, 477, 506, and AJR 13 passed unanimously. And I would like to assign floor statements I've got 348, I have Majority Leader Canizaro. I'll take the floor statement for 367, 477, Vice Chair Daley. Assembly Bill 506, Senator Steinbeck. I'll take the floor statement for Assembly Joint Resolution 13. And Assembly Bill 256, I'd like to assign the floor statement to Senator Steinbeck. With that, I'd like us to go into the rest of our work session, and I'd like to turn it over to our policy analyst, Pepper Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Pepper Sturm, Committee Policy Analyst with LCB Research. As a reminder, as nonpartisan staff, I cannot advocate for or against any measure. I'm here to walk the committee through today's work session document. You have copies in the binder before you, and there are copies for the public in attendance today and electronic versions at the committee's meeting website. With the chair's permission, I may skip through some of the bill summary portion, but for bills with amendments, I will read out some of the detail. Since amendments that are being proposed in a number of these bills are conceptual, please be aware that the official amendment will likely modify the suggested language, but will reflect the intended change. And as the chair mentioned, we are going to pull 148, but I'll start with the first bill on our agenda here. Is Assembly Bill 73. We heard this bill on May 13th. This is the bill concerning synthetic media, deep fakes, in other words, and it requires group of candidates or political parties to disclose that they're using such things. And without proper disclosure, anyone who's depicted may seek relief in court. There were several amendments proposed, one of which is not contained here, but the first one, the Secretary of State submitted a proposed conceptual amendment that exempts streaming services from the liability provisions of the bill. And the second amendment, Joe Guild, Motion Picture Association, after subsequent discussions with our legislative council, believes that the Secretary of State's measure covers that. Another amendment verbally during the committee hearing was that issue advocacy groups also be covered in the provisions of this bill in terms of, making the disclosure and being subject to all the other things that are listed in the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I would accept a motion to amend and do pass with amendment number 1, the amendment submitted by the Secretary of State's office, and pardon me, there's a question. Vice Chair Daley.
Just real quick, so the motion picture 1, we believe is covered under the Secretary of State language, or is there going to be two portions?
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Daley. I believe, my understanding from Mr. Guild is that the concerns of the Motion Picture Association were addressed by the Secretary's amendment. Mr. Guild, do you want to
So this is the
come forward and put that on the
Secretary's
record?
I don't see the Secretary.
Senator Orenshaw, Chair of the committee, members of the committee, good afternoon. My name is Joe Guild. I'm here representing the Motion Picture Association. And the question, the answer to the question is yes. The Secretary of State's amendment encompasses the concerns that the Motion Picture Association had. I had very fruitful and good discussions with the Secretary of State's office. Appreciate their help in this regard, and we have no opposition to the bill as amended.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Daley, any questions for Mr. Guild?
No, that cleared it up. I just wanted to make sure what we were doing.
Members, any additional questions for Mr. Guild? All right. With that, then I would like to accept a motion, an amended do pass motion with amendment number 1 from the Secretary of State, and then verbally the amendment to extend this requirement for disclosure to issue advocacy groups. I have a motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a
Motion to
second?
amend and do pass.
Is there a second? Second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion, members? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that matter, AB 73, passed unanimously, and I'd like to give the floor statement to Vice Chair Daley. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are skipping 148. Our next bill is, again, Pepper Sturm Research Division LCB, Assembly Bill 237. We heard this bill on April 24th. Assembly Bill 237 authorizes any county to create the Office of Registrar of Voters. There were no amendments submitted for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I would accept a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 237. I have pardon me, I have a question from Vice Chair Daley.
Real quick, and the question's for legal, and I know it's an existing language about the county commission can set duties, can set the duties of these appointed people. Legal and everybody satisfied that that would include, meaning that they couldn't give them duties that were in violation of state law. No worries, that's it.
Thank you very much. So Vice Chair Daley, then you're satisfied as is. You don't see a need for an amendment. So I'll again request a motion for do pass Assembly Bill 237.
Motion to do pass.
Motion from Vice Chair Daley, second from Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. And Madam Secretary, I believe the nays are Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck. The measure has passed, and I'll take the floor statement. Mr. Sturm.
Mr. Chair, Pepper Sturm LCB Research, Assembly Bill 249, we heard on May 2nd. This is the bill concerning fiscal notes. It changes what's provided on the fiscal notes, fiscal effect on the state highway fund, and instead of effect on the state, yes, it will be effect on the state may have fiscal impact. In addition, the bill revises the deadline for posting the fiscal note for an initiative petition on the Secretary of State's website, and also extends the period for local government to return fiscal notes if it requires extensive research. There were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I would accept a do pass motion on Assembly Bill 249.
Motion to do pass.
Motion Vice Chair Daley, a second from the Majority Leader. Members, any discussion on the motion? I'm not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I believe I've got Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck, nay. and the rest aye, Madam Secretary. So the measure has passed 3-2. And I will take the floor statement on that bill. Mr. Sturm.
Six was on the consent, as was 262 and 348, as well as 367 and 477. Next bill was AB 490. This is Pepper Sturm again, LCB Research. We heard this bill on May 6th, and AB 490 expands the jurisdiction for filing certain petitions for judicial review or complaints to include the current First District Court if it has electronic filing, storage, reproduction processes, and electronic access. And the addition is the district court that has 5 or more judges with those same similar access. And there were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I would accept a do pass motion on Assembly Bill 490.
Motion to do pass.
A motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? Second. I have a second from Senator Steinbeck. And any discussion on the motion? Don't see any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I believe we have 1 nay, Senator Krasner, 4 in favor, and I will take the floor statement on Assembly, or actually, Senator Steinbeck, would you like to take the floor statement on Assembly Bill 490? Give that to Senator Steinbeck. Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next bill is, again, Pepper Sturm, LCB Research, was Assembly Bill 491, and this bill requires, with certain exceptions, county and city clerks to respond to a request from the Secretary of State for data or information relating to an election within 2 calendar days. The amendments changed that portion quite a bit, so I will skip through that. It also required elected public officers, other than federal offices, to require the officers to be registered to vote in state, county, district, township, or other areas prescribed by law where they have to reside. Also concerned declaration of candidacy to attest that they are registered to vote. And this did have an amendment. Speaker Yeager submitted the proposed conceptual amendment that does the following. It clarifies that the request set forth in Section 1 of the bill is for the current election. It also, number 2, revises the timeline for city and county clerks to respond to be 2 working days rather than 2 calendar days. Third, it revises provision concerning a written explanation and says that that the explanation will indicate when the information could reasonably be provided. And the fourth, it deleted Section 3 that would have required an explanation about the absence of data. We had a late submission of an amendment from Amy Bergens, Douglas City Clerk, Clerk Treasurer's Office, and
Do you have a copy for the agenda of the amendment?
And I think, Mr. Chair, you had some communication from Speaker Yeager about this. I already passed it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the amendment from our Douglas County Clerk Treasurer, Ms. Bergens. I did reach out to Speaker Yeager, who presented the bill, and at this point, he told me that he does not consider this a friendly amendment. Certainly willing to keep working with the parties, but at this point, he does not consider this a friendly amendment. So I appreciate the amendment, but members, I would like to open up for a motion to. Pardon me one second. With that, members, I would accept an amended do pass motion with the amendment in the work session document proposed by Speaker Yeager to Assembly Bill 491.
Motion to amend and do pass with the speaker amendments, but not with the Douglas County Clerk's amendment.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. I have a second. Motion from Vice Chair Daley, a second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? I have a question. Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Chair. I'm looking at the amendment from Assemblyman Yeager, proposed 2 days ago on May 13th. Amends Section 1 of the bill to clarify that the Secretary of State's request for information must be for the current election. Does that mean the election that's coming up?
Very much. I remember asking Chief Deputy Secretary of State DeGara the question as to why current was in there, and I know that that was his representation during the hearing was not to require information going back years before. So I believe that's the election coming up, or the election just happened. I do see Deputy Secretary of State Mark Voloshin.
That would be the past election.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Current would be
maybe you can give us a little clarity as to what their intent is.
Thank you for the question, Senator. Mark Voloshin, Deputy Secretary of State for Elections. Through you, Chair, to the Senator. The intent, Senator, is that it's the current election cycle, so that basically after the filing period in January has begun, it will be for that current election year and not looking retroactively. The idea being that if it's a historic election, that is not a time-sensitive request and should not overburden our county or city election officials.
So, Chair, may I?
Go ahead, follow up.
Thank you. So just to put on the record, it will be from January 1, 2026 going forward.
Thank you for the question, Senator Mark Voloshin, for the record. It may not be. Again, when we think about the upcoming election cycle, there may be questions relating to the establishment of polling places. It may exceed a little bit before, but in other words, it is the upcoming election leading up to the general in November and not a retroactive before. I do understand that your concern in trying to find a way to make it more clear, but historic requests, so in other words, after a general election occurs in November, a month or two after, again, that becomes the historic one, not time sensitive. Looking to the future, again, there may be more of a need, but I don't want to necessarily pigeonhole it into only after the first day of the start of non-judicial candidate filing in January. But it is the future election cycle and not historic ones before.
So it doesn't apply to any past elections, only to future elections.
Mark Voloshin, for the record, that sounds appropriate, Senator.
And
trying to think of a situation.
Senator Krasner, do you mean future from the effective date? Because I believe this would be effective October 1 of this year. So you mean?
So yeah, anything after October 1 of this year.
Meaning that it's prospective.
And Mark Voloshin, for the record, I believe it's intended to be the election cycle, because I think even after the primary, if there were questions relating to the conduct of the primary election that would impact the general, that election that fall within that exact election cycle, those may be time-sensitive questions. So I think just to be clear, it's really the election cycle of the year that's current. Because again, the reason I'm mentioning that, and I know it's nuanced, if something occurred during the presidential preference primary, for example, that would impact the primary, it may in fact be after the February presidential preference primary date, but because of the impact, it would still be a time-sensitive request to make sure that voters could vote, or whatever the challenge or question might be. So really, I think the intent is to limit it to an election cycle that we're currently in or approaching, but not historic previous year election cycles. I think that's probably the most accurate way to reflect.
Please go ahead.
When is our next election? There are no primaries coming up next month, correct?
Correct.
So our next election would be June 2026, is that correct?
Mark Voloshin, for the record, so outside of the possibility of recall elections, of which there are two, yes, ma'am, that's correct. The next election would be the upcoming 26 election cycle, the first election of which occurs in June of 2026.
Okay, so this only applies to future elections, nothing in the past, no prior elections.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Secretary of State Woloshyn. With that, I believe we had an amended due pass motion from Vice Chair Daley. We had a second from Majority Leader. Any other discussion on the motion? Not seeing any. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that Assembly Bill 491 did pass unanimously with the amended due pass motion. Mr. Sturm. And I will take the floor assignment on 491. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pepper Sturm, LCB Research. Next bill is Assembly Bill 496. We heard that bill on May 13th. This is the bill that requires county and city clerks to post online by 5 p.m. The amendments, again, change that, so I will skip through some of this. It also requires the Secretary of State to post a compilation of this information each day during the period specified in the bill. And it requires, additionally requires county clerks to post online the first business day an alphabetical listing of all registered voters in the county. And finally requires mail ballot return envelopes to include the voters' initials, although the amendment removes that particular one, and provide a space for voters to write his or her telephone number for the purpose of doing signature curing or verification. And again, Speaker Yeager proposed a conceptual amendment that you can see in the following page. Essentially, this changes from 5 p.m. to 11 a.m. the daily posting deadline for the city and county clerks, and for the SOS, Secretary of State concerning information specified in the bill about mail and provisional ballots. It eliminates the reporting of certain information concerning the daily counting of mail and provisional ballots. Also specifies the daily posting reports by the clerks be from the previous day or another time period specified in their reports, and any delay must be noted with an additional estimated reporting time. Fourth, it requires the Secretary of State's compilation of the information reported for all counties include an estimate of mail ballots for each county that are in the custody of the United States Postal Service, and there are parallel provisions for such information from cities. Also requires the Secretary of State to adopt regulations concerning reporting of provisional ballots by cities and counties, and deletes the requirement that a return envelope for mail ballots include the initials of the voters. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. I would accept an amended due pass motion on Assembly Bill 496 with Speaker Yeager's amendment.
Motion to amend and do pass Assembly Bill 496 with Speaker Yeager's amendment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? A second from Majority Leader Canizaro. Any discussion on the motion, members?
Yes, sir.
Senator Steinbeck. Oh, thank you, Senator Steinbeck, voting no, reserving his right. Any other comments, members? Not seeing any. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note the nays are Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck. The ayes are 3-2. We do have Senator Steinbeck reserving his right, and I'll assign the floor statement to Vice Chair Daley. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pepper Sturm, LCB Research. Next bill is Assembly Bill 497. We heard this bill on May 8th. This is the bill that authorizes political action committees to use contributions for certain purposes and excludes nonprofit corporations and organizations from the definition of a PAC. Unspent contributions are also discussed in the bill. It requires any former public officer to dispose of unspent contributions within 15 days after the 4-year period immediately following leaving office. Speaker Yeager submitted a proposed conceptual amendment that you can see on the following page that would revise the definition of Committee for Political Action and the applicability of certain requirements relating to such committees. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sturm. And members, we're going to be at ease for just 1 second. Let's see. Would there be an extra? Members, the amendment is on Nellis. I believe it was emailed out to all members. If anyone would like a paper copy, we can try to get a paper copy. Otherwise, it is on Nellis, and we go. Oh, do we have this is Assembly Bill 497. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll come back to order. Thank you, members. With that, I would accept an amend and do pass motion on Assembly Bill 497 with the amendment Speaker Yeager submitted. It's in the work session document.
Motion to amend and do pass with Speaker Yeager's amendment, which I asked for, and thank him for it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? Second from Majority Leader Canizaro. Any discussion on the motion, members? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Madam Secretary, please note the nay is Senator Krasner. The measure is passed 4-1, and I will sign that statement, floor statement, to Vice Chair Daley. Mr. Sturm.
Chair, Assembly Bill 506 was consent. So the next one in your binder should be AB 547. This bill was heard on May 8th. Again, Pepper Sturm, LCB Research. This is the bill that requires essentially public employees public employers to recognize relevant experience an employee has obtained through the federal government as equivalent to experience obtained within state government. And additionally, it requires the administrator of the Division of Human Resource Management to allow a person to substitute equivalent federal government employee experience for experience obtained at the state level. The bill also prohibits an appointing authority, with certain exceptions, from requiring an applicant for a position in the classified or unclassified service of the state to have obtained a bachelor's degree as a condition precedent to employment. Also removes the duties of the administrator regarding reviewing and revising employment requirements necessitating that a person hold a bachelor's degree. There were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Members, I would accept a do pass motion on Assembly Bill 547.
Motion to do pass.
Motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? Second from Majority Leader Canizaro. Members, any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the matter passed unanimously. And Senator Krasner, would you be okay taking the floor statement on this one? Thank you. Give the floor statement to Senator Krasner. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pepper Sturm, LCB Research. Our next bill is AGR 6. This resolution urges the United States Congress to enact legislation to extend the Social Security Fairness Act to apply to the month of December 2013 forward, and for the President to sign that legislation into law. There were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. Members, I'd accept a motion to do pass on Assembly Joint Resolution 6.
I was trying to get my partner to do it.
Steve wants me to do it. I will do it.
Motion from Senator Steinbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Vice Chair Daley. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the matter has passed. Senator Krasner is a nay. There are 4 ayes, and it has passed. I will give the floor statement to Senator Steinbeck, if that's okay. Thank you. Mr. Sturm.
Chair, Pepper Sturm, LCB Research. This is AJR 8, which amends the Constitution to provide for the establishment of business court. If you want, I will skip through it. I think we heard a fairly extensive testimony on this. It also requires a special nominating commission, et cetera. If approved in identical form during the 2027 legislative session, this proposal will be submitted to the voters for final approval or disapproval. There were an amendment from Assemblymember Dahlia, who submitted the following amendment. It will amend the resolution on page 2, line 4, to provide that the state may, replacing the word shall, provide available funding if available. It also amends the resolution to enable special nominating commission members to provide a designee to serve in their place. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And members, I see a comment from Vice Chair Daley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and just to comment on this, love the idea of the business court. Don't really particularly like the selection process, but as I've said earlier, I'm not afraid to let the voters make this choice, so I'll support the measure.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any additional comments or questions, members, on AJR 8? Not seeing any additional comments or questions. I do appreciate all the sponsors' hard work. I'd accept a motion to amend and do pass AJR 8.
Motion to amend and do pass.
A motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Senator Steinbeck. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that this matter did pass unanimously. And Senator Krasner, would you like to handle the floor statement? Thank you. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next bill is AJR 9. This urges Congress to enact legislation to prohibit officers and agents of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security from entering schools and places of worship for the purpose of upholding federal immigration laws. There were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. I'd accept a do pass motion on AJR 9.
Motion to do pass.
Motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? Second from Majority Leader Canizaro. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nay. Please note, Madam Secretary, the measure has passed 3-2. The 2 nays are Senator Krasner, Senator Steinbeck. And I will assign the floor statement to myself. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next measure is AJR 10. This urges the federal government to prioritize the passage and implementation of the Southern Nevada Economic Development and Conservation Act, which does a number of things that you can read there in the summary. Assemblymember Howdegee submitted a proposed conceptual amendment that's on the following page, hopefully, that adds a resolve clause to encourage bipartisan efforts with regard to the process of releasing federally managed lands in Nevada. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturm. I'd accept an amend and do pass motion with the amendment proposed by Assemblymember Howdegee. I have amended do pass motion from Senator Steinbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Majority Leader Canizara. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the measure did pass unanimously. And Senator Steinbeck, would you be interested in the floor statement?
Yes, sir.
Sign that, Senator Steinbeck. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next bill is Assembly Joint Resolution 11. We heard this bill on May 1st. This urges the United States Congress to enact the Richard Trumka Protecting the Right to Organize Act of 2025 to increase protections relating to the rights of employees to collectively bargain. There were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sturm. I'd accept a do pass motion on AJR 11.
Motion to do pass AJR 11.
Motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? I have a second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that the measure has passed 3-2. I believe the two nays are Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck. And I'll assign the floor statement to Vice Chair Daley. Mr. Sturm.
Thank you.
Chair, AJR 13 was on the consent calendar, so the next bill and the final bill for the work session is AJR 14. This bill was heard on May 2nd. Assembly Joint Resolution 14 condemns the attack on the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, including the assault on law enforcement officers, and denounces the use of presidential pardons and commutations to absolve participants in the riot. There were no amendments proposed for this measure. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sturm. I'd accept the do pass motion on Assembly Joint Resolution 14.
Motion to do pass Assembly Joint Resolution 14.
Motion from Vice Chair Daley. Is there a second? Second from the Majority Leader. Any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Madam Secretary, please note that AJR 14 is passed on a 3-2 margin. The nays being Senator Krasner and Senator Steinbeck. And I will assign the floor statement to Vice Chair Daley.
Thank you.
With that, we'll close our work session. Thank you, Mr. Sturm, for all your hard work on preparing this for us. And the last item on our agenda is public comment. We are taking public comment, limiting it to 2 minutes per speaker. We'll start here in Carson City, then we'll go to Las Vegas, then we'll go to the phone lines. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. Not at all. No, please go ahead. State your name for the record. Proceed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Cyrus Hojati. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for all the work you've done. We don't agree with everything. This was a very productive civil conversation. And I just want to advise people need to read the bills. I admit I haven't done it. There was a lot of these bills that I may disagree. There was a lot of good things in them, and people got to do their homework. And you know, just because we disagree doesn't mean we can't get things done. We certainly can. So we have to make sure that we do things in a very productive manner. And even though the bills that you may not like don't get passed, long term they could be beneficial. Maybe we learn something. Maybe we fix a few things, and we just live and learn. But I really like how you do these meetings, and I hope you do more of that.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thanks for your input. I don't see anyone coming forward in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, anyone on the phone lines that wishes to make public comment? We are limiting it to 2 minutes per speaker.
If you'd like to provide public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. This is Oscar Williams, OSCAR-WILLIAMS from Reno, Nevada. I wish to bring to your attention, Mr. Chair, a possible issue where public comments in opposition to a number of bills are not being posted on the exhibits tab where they belong. I know this because I have submitted a number of them in a timely manner, and I can't find them. Of 8 bills that I know, and maybe I've submitted for a dozen or so, but a quick review of what I could find of my own work. SB 414, that one's posted. Very nice. However, AB 148, not only is not 499 not posted, but there are no opposition comments posted on the exhibits tab. Same thing with AB 477. AB 496, there's only one comment in opposition posted, and mine's not one of them. AB 497, there are 2 comments posted. AB 464, there are 3 comments in opposition posted. AB 499, there's several, and AB 245, there are many of them, but mine is not among them. Mr. Chair, I implore you to allow me to express my free speech rights, to participate in this process, and have my comments available at least to the other members of this committee. So please, if you'd be so kind as to give this your attention, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for your comments, Mr. Williams. Again, if there are any comments you've submitted that you don't see, we'd ask you please to resubmit them. They will be made part of the record. Broadcasting, anyone else on the phone lines who wishes to make public comment?
Good afternoon. This is Ellen Gifford, ELLEN, GIFF as in Frank, ORD as in David. Many of the bills in this 23rd legislative session may become laws that focus on improvements and benefits to people's way of living in the state of Nevada. They will be laws that promote well-being. On the other hand, unfortunately, several bills in this legislative session, as well as the 22nd legislative session, have appeared to have a purpose that provides minimum, if any, benefit. Instead of addressing a process and providing a guideline on how that process is to be properly performed, they focus on demands, warnings, and better do's and better not do's, and emphasize punishments and power. This is disrespectful of the legislation process. We hope this issue can be addressed and remedied by Nevada's legislators. Thank you.
If you have recently joined and would like to provide public comment, please press *9 to take your place in the queue. Thank you, Mr. Chair. There are no other callers wishing to make public comment at this time.
Thank you very much, Broadcasting. Ms. Hanson, good to see you. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hanson, and I know our time for Carson City was up, but I just wanted to thank all of you. I think that we've had very productive discussions here. I appreciate your staff. You've always been fair, and I think we've been able to have positive discussions, even though sometimes we disagree and sometimes we agree. And I really appreciate the time in this committee because it's been very positive, and thank you very much for all you do. I know you work very hard, as all of us do too. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. And members, thank you for your patience. I know we've had to move around our start time a little bit today. I want to thank our staff. We've got such tremendous staff who've just been killing themselves to try to make this work seamlessly and try to be able to stack our meeting so the next committee can start. So with that, we will have a meeting tomorrow. It's at call of the chair. Try to give everyone as much notice as we can when we know a little bit more. We are adjourned.